Captain Elias Trent's ship glided quietly into the Andara Nebula, a sprawling cloud of purple and blue gases that shimmered like distant stars. The nebula was beautiful, but it was also dangerous. Space storms often erupted without warning, tearing apart unprepared ships. Elias had flown through many star systems, but the edge of the nebula had always been special to him. There was something peaceful about the swirling colors and the quiet hum of distant stars. He docked his ship at a small, isolated space station that hung like a lonely jewel among the rocks of a nearby asteroid belt. The station was not busy. Only a few ships were anchored, and the airlock hissed as people moved in and out. Its metallic corridors smelled faintly of recycled air and oil, but Elias did not mind. He had been traveling for weeks, and the hum of activity in the station was comforting. Elias stretched his arms and smiled. Time to rest and resupply, he murmured to himself. He had a simple rule: always help where he could. It didn't matter if it was a human or alien. If someone needed help, he tried to give it. As he walked through the dimly lit corridors of the station, he noticed a small group of children huddled near a corner. They were unlike any species he had seen before. Their skin shimmered faintly, like liquid silver under the station's fluorescent lights. Their eyes were large, glowing softly in the shadows, and their small hands clutched at thin scraps of clothing. The children looked hungry. Their movements were cautious, as if they had learned to avoid attention. Elias felt a tug at his heart. He remembered his own childhood on Earth when he had struggled to survive after losing his parents. Without thinking, he reached into his pack and pulled out some ration bars. "Here," he said gently, kneeling in front of them. "You must be hungry." The children hesitated at first, eyes wide with suspicion. Then one of them stepped forward and took a bar, biting into it with cautious delight. The others followed, their small hands trembling as they accepted the food. For a moment, the corridor was quiet except for the soft crunching of the bars. Elias smiled, a warm feeling spreading through him. "There, that's better. Eat as much as you like." The children ate quickly, their hunger obvious in the way they devoured the food. One of them, a small girl with glowing lavender eyes, looked up at Elias. "Thank you," she said softly in a language he barely understood, yet somehow could comprehend. Elias laughed lightly. "You're welcome. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere yet. Just make sure you finish your meal." While the children ate, Elias looked around the station. Most of the other travelers ignored the scene, too busy with their own errands. A few whispered among themselves, glancing at the children with curiosity and caution. He could hear them muttering, calling them names he didn't recognize. "Children of shadows," one woman whispered, her eyes wide. "They say their mother is—" "Not someone to cross." Elias frowned but ignored it. "Stories," he said under his breath. "People always make up stories." Once the children had finished eating, they stood up. Elias noticed how small and fragile they seemed, yet there was a spark of intelligence in their eyes. They bowed slightly to him, a gesture that seemed both respectful and grateful. "Come on," Elias said, extending his hand. "Let me see if I can find something else to help you with." The children hesitated but followed. He led them to a small storage area, where the station kept extra blankets and supplies for travelers in need. Elias found a few items, a warm blanket for each child and some clean clothing. The children's faces lit up when they received them. "You don't have to do all this," one boy said cautiously, tugging at Elias's sleeve. Elias chuckled. "I know, but I want to. You've been through enough already, haven't you?" The children looked at one another, then nodded. They didn't speak much, but their eyes told stories of hardship and survival. Elias understood more than words could convey. As they finished organizing the supplies, a faint sound echoed through the corridor. It was a soft, melodic hum, almost musical. The children froze, their glowing eyes wide with fear. Elias turned but saw nothing unusual. "Relax," he said calmly. "It's probably just the station's systems making noise." But the children didn't seem convinced. The smallest one, a boy with silver hair that shimmered in the light, clung to Elias's arm. "They'll come if they know we're here," he whispered. "Who?" Elias asked, curiosity rising. The children exchanged glances, but no one answered. Elias didn't push. He had learned long ago that patience was better than force, especially with beings who didn't trust him yet. After a few moments, the children seemed to relax. They smiled shyly at Elias, a gesture so genuine that he felt his heart swell. For the first time in weeks, he felt a true connection. not just as a human, but as someone who cared. The station's PA system crackled. "Attention all travelers," a robotic voice announced. "Storm warning in Sector 7. All ships are advised to remain docked or take protective measures." Elias sighed. "The nebulous storms could be treacherous. Looks like we're stuck here for a while," he said, looking down at the children. "Might as well make the most of it." He led them to a small lounge area where they could sit safely while he made arrangements to secure his ship. The children played quietly, using scraps of metal and cloth to create little toys. Elias watched them, fascinated by their creativity. Despite everything, they found ways to laugh and enjoy themselves. Hours passed, and Elias shared stories of his travels with them. He told tales of distant planets, strange creatures, and breathtaking landscapes. The children listened in awe, their earlier fear replaced by curiosity. One of them, the girl with lavender eyes, asked, "Have you ever met anyone powerful?" Elias chuckled. "I've met a few leaders, yes. Some kind, some not so kind. But true power isn't always about strength or fear. It's about choices, about what you do when no one is watching." The children seemed to ponder this deeply. Elias smiled, realizing that even small acts, like giving them food, could have a ripple effect far beyond what he imagined. As night fell on the station, Elias helped the children find a safe corner to sleep. He covered them with blankets and made sure they were comfortable. Their peaceful faces reassured him that he had done the right thing. Before he left to check on his ship, he glanced back at them. "Sleep well," he whispered. "I'll see you in the morning." The children waved softly, their smiles bright even in the dim light. Elias felt a warmth in his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. For the first time in weeks, he felt hope, not just for himself, but for these small, fragile beings who had survived so much. What Elias did not know was that someone had been watching him all along. Hidden in the shadows of the station's observation deck, a woman's eyes glowed with a light that matched the nebula outside. She observed every move, every word, every act of kindness. The woman was not just anyone. She was Althara, the most powerful figure in the galaxy. Her influence stretched across star systems, and her enemies spoke her name in fear. Yet here she was, silently studying a human who had simply done what he felt was right. Her children had returned from the encounter, chattering excitedly about the kind human who had fed them. Althara's stern expression softened slightly. She had never seen anyone act with such pure selflessness. For the first time in her life, she considered the idea that power was not only about fear or control. Perhaps there was something else, a force far stronger than dominance: compassion. Elias walked back to his ship, unaware of the silent observer. He was tired but content, his heart light despite the dangers that lay ahead. The nebulous storm loomed on the horizon. But for now he felt safe, and more importantly, he had made a difference, even if it was just to a handful of alien children. As his ship lifted off the docking bay and glided into the nebula, Elias looked back once more at the station. He didn't know it yet, but this simple act of kindness would ripple across the galaxy in ways he could never imagine. And somewhere in the shadows, Althara's eyes followed him, curious and intrigued, her mind already planning to meet the human who had unknowingly captured her attention, and perhaps her respect. The galaxy, vast and dangerous, had shifted slightly that day, guided not by battles or conquest, but by a small gesture of humanity. The vast expanse of the Andara Nebula stretched endlessly, swirling with purple, blue, and silver gases that shimmered like a living painting. Captain Elias Trent piloted his ship carefully, keeping his course steady despite the distant warning of the approaching storm. He had never feared space storms. He trusted his ship, and he trusted himself. But there was a strange feeling lingering in his chest, a sense that something had begun, something unexpected, because of the small act of kindness he had shown earlier. Meanwhile, not far away, a sleek starship sliced through the nebula with almost unnatural grace. Its hull gleamed like polished onyx, and streams of light ran along its surface as if the ship itself were alive. Inside, Althara sat in her command chamber, watching the human through multiple view screens. Her children were gathered nearby, laughing and chattering about their encounter with Elias Trent. They described his tall frame, his warm smile, and the way he had shared his food without hesitation. Their voices were filled with wonder, an innocence that Althara had long protected fiercely from the harshness of the galaxy. Althara's expression was unreadable at first. As the most powerful woman in the galaxy, she had built her life on control, strategy, and respect. Fear sometimes. She ruled star systems, negotiated with powerful leaders, and commanded entire fleets. Yet when her children spoke of the human, something inside her stirred. She leaned forward, resting her chin in her hand, her glowing eyes reflecting curiosity and caution. "You admire him?" she asked softly, not needing an answer. "Yes, Mother," one of her children replied, eyes shining. "He was kind. He didn't care who we were. He only wanted to help." Althera's stern features softened. Her children's safety and happiness had always been her priority, but she rarely allowed anyone outside their protected circle to influence them. Yet this human, he had acted without hesitation, without fear. That simple courage intrigued her. She stood and walked to the viewport, her gaze stretching across the nebula. Elias's small ship was just a speck in the distance, but she could see the kindness in his actions, even from here. His courage was not the courage of warriors or conquerors. It was the courage of the heart. For hours she watched him, her mind torn between instinct and curiosity. A part of her demanded that she test this human, to see if he was a threat. Another part, the part she had never admitted to anyone, wanted to know more about him. Finally, Althara spoke to her children. "He will come to understand who I am soon enough," she said softly. "But for now, let him remain unaware. Observe him. Learn about his character." The children giggled with excitement, imagining the tall human wandering through the station, completely oblivious to the cosmic web of power surrounding them. Back aboard his ship, Elias navigated carefully through the nebula, unaware that eyes far more powerful than his were tracking his every movement. He was content, though a subtle unease lingered. Something about the children had touched him deeply, an emotion he had not felt so strongly in years. He remembered their wary glances, the way they hesitated before accepting his food, and the courage it must have taken for them to trust him. Elias often thought of his own childhood, the long days of struggle, the loneliness, and how a small act of kindness could change everything. As he plotted a course to the next star system, his ship's sensors picked up a signal, a faint, unfamiliar energy reading. Curious, he adjusted his trajectory slightly to investigate. The signal pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. "Strange," Elias muttered. "I've never seen energy patterns like this before." The signal led him deeper into the nebula, toward a hidden pocket of space he had never explored. Suddenly, the source revealed itself, a sleek, enormous ship moving with elegance that made Elias's small vessel seem fragile in comparison. He blinked. "That's enormous," he said aloud. His hands hovered over the controls, uncertain whether to approach or retreat. Yet something about the ship's presence was not hostile. It was deliberate, almost graceful. The ship slowed and then stopped, hovering silently in space. A message transmitted directly to Elias's ship. "Captain Elias Trent," a calm, melodic voice said. "You have shown kindness where it was least expected." "That is remarkable," Elias froze. The voice was unfamiliar, commanding attention without anger or threat. He glanced at the communicator, his mind racing. Who are you?" "You will know me soon enough," the voice replied. "But first, understand this. Your actions have consequences far beyond what you can see. I am Althara, mother to the children you fed and ruler across many systems. Yet I do not speak as a ruler now. I speak as a mother." Elias' heart skipped a beat. The children's mother, this woman, was not just anyone. She was the most powerful figure in the galaxy, and her words carried weight that could crush or save. And here she was, speaking directly to him, not with threats, but with curiosity. I didn't know," Elias stammered. "I was just trying to help." "They were hungry," Althara's voice softened. "And that is precisely why I am intrigued. A human who acts without fear, without expectation of reward, without knowledge of my power. You are rare." For a long moment, Elias remained silent, trying to process the revelation. He thought of the children, their glowing eyes and tiny hands. He thought of the warmth in their smiles and the way they had trusted him despite their circumstances. Althara continued. "I will test you, Captain Trent, not with force, not with fear. Only with your choices. If your heart remains true, then you may gain more than you imagine. But if you falter..." Her voice trailed off, leaving the threat unspoken yet clear. Elias nodded slowly. "I understand. I won't falter. I just want to help." Very well, Althara said. Prepare yourself. You will meet me soon. Until then, continue as you have. Observe, act, and trust your instincts. Over the next few hours, Elias continued his journey, navigating carefully through the nebula. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being observed. Strange, ethereal flashes of light occasionally danced along his ship's hull, but whenever he tried to focus on them, they vanished. He told himself it was only the nebula's gases reacting to the light, yet deep down, he knew it was something or someone watching. Finally, the storm warning grew stronger. The swirling gases outside his viewport shimmered with violent energy. Elias adjusted his shields and prepared for turbulence. He could feel the hum of his ship vibrating with the nebula's strange currents. Suddenly, a small signal pinged on his sensors. A beacon, unlike any natural phenomenon. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Elias hesitated. He could ignore it, fly past, and avoid any potential danger. But something in him, a curiosity, a sense of responsibility, compelled him to investigate. The source led him to a small clearing in the nebula. There, hidden among the swirling gases, was a station unlike any he had seen. Its architecture was elegant, flowing, and impossible to describe with simple shapes. Towers of crystal-like material spiraled upward, connected by bridges that shimmered in the nebula's light. Elias' jaw dropped. This is incredible. A landing platform extended automatically, and a gentle voice echoed through his ship. Captain Trent, you may dock safely. Your presence is expected. Elias's mind raced. He had not expected anyone to know who he was, much less the human who had fed a few children on a remote station. And yet here he was, being welcomed. Politely, cautiously, but unmistakably deliberately. He landed and stepped out carefully. The platform beneath him seemed to pulse gently as if alive. And there, at the center of the station, stood Althara. She was taller than any human, with an aura of authority that could silence a room without words. Her hair shimmered like starlight, cascading in waves down her back. Her eyes glowed faintly, a color Elias could not name. Yet despite the power radiating from her, there was a softness, a maternal warmth that immediately struck him. She smiled slightly. Welcome, Captain Trent. I am pleased you accepted the invitation. Elias bowed slightly, unsure how to address someone of her immense stature. It's an honor, he said. I didn't expect... You did not expect what? Althara asked gently. To meet me? To be watched? To face tests? None of that matters. What matters is the choice you make now. Do you act with integrity? Do you continue to trust in kindness? Elias straightened. I do. I will always try to do what is right. Althara's eyes softened further. She looked at him not as a ruler, but as a mother observing someone who had cared for her children. Very well. Then you may walk freely here, speak openly, and learn. But remember, every choice carries weight, Captain Trent. Every action ripples farther than you know. As she spoke, her children appeared beside her, giggling and pointing at Elias with excitement. The small boy with silver hair ran forward and hugged him. The lavender-eyed girl smiled shyly. Elias laughed, feeling a strange sense of belonging he had not felt in years. Althara watched silently, a complex mix of pride, curiosity, and wonder crossing her features. This human, simple, kind, courageous, was unlike anyone she had encountered, and somehow she knew that his presence would change more than just her children's lives. In the depths of the nebula, amid storms and swirling light, a new story had begun, one that would test courage, compassion, and the true meaning of power. The asteroid field stretched before Elias like a chaotic labyrinth, jagged rocks tumbling through space at unpredictable speeds. Beyond the shimmering gases of the Andara Nebula, the field was known as the Crimson Gauntlet, a treacherous zone that only the most skilled pilots dared to navigate. Today it would serve as a test, not just of his skill but of his heart. Elias's small ship weaved carefully between the massive asteroids. Every movement was precise, every adjustment measured. The hum of the engines and the subtle vibration of the controls were comforting. They reminded him that he was alive, alert, and capable. Yet something felt different this time. It wasn't just the nebula or the field. He could sense an invisible presence, a quiet observation that made him wary and curious at the same time. Behind him, a shadow passed across the viewport. Elias frowned. "Who's there?" he muttered, but no one answered. Unbeknownst to him, Althara's ship hovered silently above the asteroid field, her energy signature cloaked perfectly. From her observation deck, she watched every maneuver, every decision. Her children, glowing softly, leaned against the transparent wall, excited to see the human who had earned their admiration face challenges. "He's ready," one of the children whispered. Althara nodded. "He must prove more than courage. He must prove wisdom and empathy. Only then will I know if he is truly worthy of trust." The first challenge came quickly. A small cargo ship, adrift and damaged, floated between two massive asteroids. Its hull was cracked and it emitted sparks that threatened to ignite a chain reaction in the nearby volatile gases. Elias spotted it immediately. "Oh no," he murmured, realizing the danger. The ship could explode at any moment and the debris could smash his own vessel. He had two options: continue through the field safely, or risk his ship to save the stranded crew. Without hesitation, Elias veered toward the cargo ship. "I can't just leave them," he said aloud, gripping the controls tightly. Althara watched silently, noting his decision. Many would have passed by to save themselves, but Elias' instinct was different. He adjusted his shields, aimed the tractor beam, and began stabilizing the damaged ship. Sparks flew across the viewport and debris tumbled past, but Elias remained focused. Minutes passed like hours. The tension in the asteroid field was almost tangible. Finally, the cargo ship stabilized, and the remaining crew, two aliens and a small human child, looked at Elias in awe. "Thank you," one of the aliens said, their voice trembling. "We thought we were lost." Elias smiled warmly. "Don't worry. You're safe now. Just hold tight. I'll get you out of here." He guided the cargo ship carefully toward a safer region, dodging tumbling rocks and erratic energy pulses. By the time the ship was stable, Elias's own vessel bore scratches and minor damage, but nothing critical. He exhaled deeply, his heart pounding from the adrenaline. From her hidden vantage point, Althara nodded slightly. Elias had passed the first test, not with skill alone, but with compassion. The second challenge arrived unexpectedly. A sudden burst of energy surged through the asteroid field, creating a violent magnetic storm. Elias's ship systems flickered and alarms blared. He tried to adjust his shields, but the magnetic pulses interfered with the controls. "It's pulling me," Elias shouted, fighting against the invisible force. His ship careened dangerously close to a massive asteroid. Every instinct screamed to panic, yet he forced himself to stay calm. He remembered the lessons from his childhood: focus, patience, and trust in his own judgment. Althara observed with keen interest. Unlike most humans, Elias did not curse his fate or struggle blindly. He analyzed the situation, recalculated trajectories, and made subtle adjustments to counter the magnetic pulses. Slowly, steadily, he navigated the storm, proving both intelligence and resilience. Finally, the storm passed, leaving Elias's ship trembling but intact. He exhaled and muttered to himself, "I've never faced anything like that before." Behind him, a small voice echoed over the communication system, a voice he did not recognize. "Impressive, human. You act with both courage and thought. But the final challenge approaches." Elias froze. Who is this?" The voice was calm, melodic, yet held an undeniable authority. "All will be revealed soon. For now, continue forward and trust your instincts." Elias shook his head, unsure what lay ahead, but he pressed on, trusting his training and his heart. The third test was subtle, more psychological than physical. As he passed through a narrow corridor of asteroids, he encountered a small glowing creature trapped beneath a fallen rock. Its eyes were large, luminous, and filled with fear. Elias's first instinct was to save it, but a second, deeper thought struck him. The corridor was narrow, and stopping might endanger his ship and the cargo he had saved. He paused, weighing the decision carefully. For a moment, fear and duty battled within him, yet he remembered the children, their innocent smiles, and the simple joy of helping someone in need. Without hesitation, he activated the ship's manipulator arm and lifted the rock, freeing the creature. The creature chirped happily and darted away into the nebula, disappearing in a shimmer of light. Elias watched it go, smiling. "Safe now," he whispered. Althara's eyes softened. Few beings in the galaxy had the instinct to help, even when it was risky. Elias's compassion was genuine, pure, and rare. She realized that she had underestimated the strength of humanity, not in battle, not in strategy but in empathy. After the asteroid field, Elias's ship finally stabilized in a calm sector of space. His body ached from the stress and his mind buzzed with the lessons of the past hours. He knew someone had orchestrated the challenges, but he didn't yet know who. The feeling of being observed had not left him, and curiosity burned stronger than fatigue. A sudden ping alerted him to a docking signal. A small, elegant shuttle materialized before his ship, carrying an open invitation to board. Hesitant but curious, Elias prepared to meet whoever was behind the tests. When he stepped aboard the shuttle, he was greeted by a familiar glow, the soft, radiant light of Althara's children. They laughed and cheered at his arrival, jumping around excitedly. Elias laughed with them, feeling a strange warmth he could not explain. Then she appeared. Althara stood before him, taller and more imposing than he had imagined. Her aura of authority was undeniable, but her eyes held a softness reserved for those she trusted. "You have done well, Captain Trent," she said, her voice calm and musical. "Few would have acted as you did. Most would have sought only their own survival." Elias bowed slightly, humbled. I only did what I thought was right. I couldn't leave them in danger." "Exactly," Althara replied, "and that is why you intrigue me. Power is meaningless without purpose, and courage is worthless without heart. You possess both in equal measure." Elias blinked. "Purpose, heart. I never thought of it that way." Althara smiled faintly. "Many never do, but you human are different. You act with honesty, kindness, and integrity. That is the true test, and you have passed." The children cheered, running to hug Elias. He laughed, feeling a bond form that transcended species or worlds. Here, among the stars, he felt accepted, valued, and trusted. Althara watched silently, proud and thoughtful. Her initial plan to challenge him through obstacles had evolved. She realized that true tests were not always physical. They were moral, ethical, and emotional. Elias had proven himself not through skill alone, but through compassion, wisdom, and courage. "Captain Trent," Althara said, "your journey with us is only beginning. There are choices ahead that will test you further, but I have faith in your heart. You have already shown more than most rulers or warriors ever will." Elias nodded, feeling a sense of purpose ignite within him. For the first time, he understood that his actions could influence more than his own fate. They could shape lives, futures, and perhaps even the galaxy itself. The shuttle lifted off, carrying Elias toward Althara's massive flagship, where lessons, adventures, and new responsibilities awaited. He glanced back at the asteroid field, now calm and quiet, a reminder of the trials he had faced and overcome. In the depths of space, amidst swirling nebulae and twinkling stars, a unique bond had formed, not between conqueror and subject or ruler and citizen, but between human and alien, mother and guardian, kindness and power. Elias's journey had taken a new turn. The tests were not over, but he had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in technology, battle, or fear, but in courage, empathy, and the willingness to act rightly. Even when no one was watching, Althara watched him thoughtfully, a faint smile on her lips. The galaxy had not seen the last of this human, and she knew that together, they could change more than just a small corner of the universe. The stars glittered around them, silent witnesses to the unfolding story, a tale of power tempered by compassion, and of a human whose heart had begun to leave an indelible mark on the cosmos. The flagship loomed ahead like a floating fortress of light and energy. Its sleek surface reflected the glow of the Andara Nebula, and its hull pulsed faintly as if alive. Elias Trent's small shuttle approached cautiously, but with a sense of awe he could not hide. Every instinct told him that this was no ordinary ship. He had heard tales of Althara's power, but seeing it firsthand was beyond imagination. Inside the flagship, the atmosphere was unlike any vessel Elias had encountered. The corridors were vast and elegant, lined with crystalline panels that shimmered with soft, ever-changing light. The air felt warmer, almost alive, carrying a faint hum of energy that seemed to respond to his presence. Althara walked beside him, silent yet commanding, her glowing eyes observing everything around her. Her children ran ahead, giggling and exploring the ship, their innocence filling the cold corridors with warmth. Elias felt both nervous and honored. This was a world of immense power, yet he had been welcomed. You may walk freely here, Althera said, her voice calm and melodic. But understand this. The galaxy is not kind to the weak nor to those who act without thought. Your choices here will matter, always. I understand, Elias replied. I just want to do what is right. Althera nodded slightly. Good. That is what separates those with true strength from those who only believe they are strong. Power is meaningless without purpose, human. Kindness is stronger than weapons, and courage is more valuable than fleets. Elias smiled softly. I've always believed that. It's why I help others when I can. Even small acts can make a difference. Althera's gaze softened. Then you are rare. Many fear what they do not understand. Many choose control over compassion. You do not. That is why I'm willing to offer you more than most humans could imagine. The first days aboard the flagship were a mixture of wonder and learning. Elias explored the ship with Althera's children as guides, discovering rooms filled with holographic libraries, energy gardens, and training chambers. He marveled at the technology, but what fascinated him most was the way the ship seemed alive, responding to thought and emotion rather than commands alone. The children adored him. They asked countless questions about Earth, humans, and his adventures. Elias told stories of distant planets, strange creatures, and moments when courage and empathy had made all the difference. The children listened with wide eyes, occasionally interrupting with laughter or awe. Althera watched silently from the observation deck, studying Elias's interactions. His kindness was natural, not performative. He did not seek praise or reward. Even when the children asked for stories and games, he engaged wholeheartedly, never growing impatient. One evening, as the nebula outside shimmered in shades of violet and silver, Althera approached Elias in the ship's central chamber. The room was circular, filled with soft ambient light, and the air seemed charged with energy. Captain Trent, she said, her voice gentle yet firm, you have proven yourself in ways most leaders could not. You faced the challenges of the asteroid field with courage, intelligence, and compassion. But now, a greater choice awaits you. Elias tilted his head, curious. A choice? Althera nodded. Yes, the galaxy is full of conflict, danger, and fear. My influence is vast, but even I cannot reach everywhere at once. I need allies, individuals who act not from power but from principle. I offer you the chance to join me, not as a subordinate but as a partner, guiding my children and aiding in missions of aid, diplomacy, and protection. Elias was silent for a moment, weighing the words. The offer was incredible, to work with the most powerful woman in the galaxy, to protect and guide her children and to influence events across star systems. It was beyond any dream he had ever dared to imagine. I don't know what to say, he admitted. This is more than I ever expected, Althera smiled faintly. You need not speak now. Think carefully. You have always acted from your heart, and now you must decide if your heart is ready for this responsibility. The next days were spent in reflection. Elias walked among the ship's energy gardens, sat in the libraries studying alien histories, and spent hours speaking with Althera's children. He learned of their worlds, their cultures, and the burdens that came with being the children of the galaxy's most powerful leader. Yet through it all, he realized something profound. Compassion, courage, and understanding could bridge gaps that power alone never could. One morning, while observing the nebula from the flagship's observation deck, Elias finally made his decision. The swirling colors of the gases reflected in his eyes as he turned to Althera, who stood silently beside him. I accept, he said firmly. I want to help, to guide, and to protect. Not for power or reward, but because it's the right thing to do. Althera studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she smiled. So be it. Then you shall walk with me, and the galaxy may yet see the value of humanity in ways they never imagined. Elias felt a surge of pride and humility. He had never sought fame, power, or recognition. All he had wanted was to help. Yet now, his simple actions had opened doors to possibilities beyond imagination. The first mission together came sooner than expected. Althera received intelligence of a planet suffering from natural disasters, its inhabitants trapped and unable to evacuate. Ships from other sectors had been delayed and time was critical. Elias, alongside Althera and her children, boarded a rapid deployment shuttle. The journey was tense but controlled, each moment demanding focus. Elias watched as Althara coordinated the operation, issuing commands with precision and calm authority. Yet she did not forget him. She encouraged him to make decisions, guided him when necessary, and treated him as a true partner, not merely a human subordinate. On the planet, the devastation was clear. Buildings were crumbled, rivers had overflowed, and countless beings were stranded. Elias's heart sank. He had faced danger before, but seeing so many lives at risk stirred something deeper within him. "Stay calm," Althara said softly. "We can save them. We just need to act wisely." Elias nodded, moving quickly to organize rescue efforts. He worked alongside Althara's teams, coordinating evacuations, offering aid, and calming frightened civilians. Her children helped too, guiding small groups and distributing supplies. Hours passed, but slowly, systematically, they saved thousands of lives. The storm eventually subsided, leaving the planet scarred but not defeated. Elias looked around at the survivors, their faces filled with gratitude, relief, and hope. He felt a deep sense of accomplishment, one that no accolade or reward could ever match. Althara approached him, her expression soft yet proud. "You see, Captain Trent," she said, "this is why your actions matter. Strength alone cannot save the galaxy. Wisdom, courage, and compassion do." Elias smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. I understand now. It's not just about surviving or fighting. It's about helping, protecting, and inspiring hope." Althara nodded. "Exactly. And that is why I trust you." Back aboard the flagship, Elias reflected on the events. He had begun this journey as a human wandering the edges of the nebula, feeding alien children without knowledge of their origin. Now he was a trusted partner of the galaxy's most powerful leader, guiding her children, saving lives, and shaping futures. Althara's children crowded around him, asking questions, telling stories, and laughing. Elias joined them, feeling a warmth he had never known, a sense of family, purpose, and belonging. Even Althara, the woman whose power could move star systems, seemed softened by his presence. "You have changed more than just your path. Human," Althara said quietly, as they stood together watching the nebula. "You have reminded me that power without kindness is empty, and that even the smallest acts can ripple across the universe." Elias smiled, looking out at the stars. "I never thought a simple act like sharing food with children could lead to all this. I just did what I felt was right." Althara nodded, her eyes glinting with quiet pride. "And that, Captain Trent, is why you are remarkable." For the first time in his life, Elias felt that his actions mattered on a scale he could not have imagined. Not because of power, influence, or recognition, but because of courage, empathy, and the simple truth that one person, guided by a good heart, could indeed change the galaxy. The flagship sailed onward through the nebula, a symbol of power tempered by compassion. Elias walked beside Althara and her children, ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store. The future was vast, unknown, and full of challenges, but now, he was not alone. In the quiet shimmer of the Andara Nebula, a human, alien, children, and the most powerful woman in the galaxy shared a bond that could not be broken. A bond forged in trust, courage, and the simple, enduring power of kindness. The galaxy would never be the same again.